All right, I'm here with Allison Evans and Kelly Love. They are the co-founders of Branch Basics. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Joel. Thanks for
having
having
us.
us.
Super excited to have both of you on. We were talking offline, and I'm a huge fan of your brand, Branch Basics, which is geared towards healthy living, healthy cleaning, and toxin free. And so you can clean your house, your bathrooms, everything in a toxin free world. And it's super, super important. And I'm super excited to just delve into that about that with you guys. But I'm always curious how you guys came about this and why you made it a mission. Something in your bones must have said, we've got to launch a company because it's just not out there in the market. So was there a day that you both realized this and said, this is what we're going to do?
Yes. This is Kelly speaking. And Allison, I'll take it and then you can give more details on your
Perfect.
story. But
We'll definitely be
um,
interrupting each other as it goes. That's just what we do. We're best friends. We have survived. We continue to be best friends after 13 years of running a company, which is amazing. And we finish each other's sentences. So sometimes we'll be overlapping.
I love it.
yes. So I will speak for us and say that we basically wanted to put Marilee's brand on the internet. So Marilee is our third co-founder and Allison's aunt. And I'll let Allison share more details about her story. But um, when we started learning all of this stuff about healthy living from Marilee, we were like, oh my goodness, our friends and family need to know this. And we started off talking about all the different things, saunas and air purifiers and stuff. And we just came back to like, okay, everyone's so overwhelmed and they don't know where to start. Let's start with cleaning. Cleaning is such an easy first step. People don't get so overwhelmed by the thought of like changing that. It's not a huge habit change. It's not like super big investment like a sauna or something. So we were like, okay, we're going to focus on cleaning and use that as the vehicle to tell our stories and try and reach our mission of creating a healthy home revolution, of people really starting to create a healthy home and really thinking about what products they're bringing into their home, what's actually in the bottle. And yeah, basically it all started with Marilee because she grew up very sickly, very conventional home diet, all the things, and was in and out of the hospital all the time, missed tons of school. At the age of 23, was told she needed a kidney transplant and that she was never going to be able to conceive naturally.
Mm.
And thankfully, somehow she just, instead of like kind of taking that diagnosis on, she just said like, no, I know there's another way. And ended up learning about food as medicine. So first started by changing her diet, and within 10 days of like literally going all in, I mean, she like threw out everything in her pantry and her fridge and went all in, did not cheat for one bite. And in 10 days, reversed her kidney damage. And then eventually, went on to get pregnant naturally. And so she was all in on diet and had a son who was healthy, strong, athletic, coordinated, brilliant, and at 10 years old was exposed to high levels of pesticides, a combination of legal ones and banned ones at the time. And completely wrecked his immune system, his brain. He had such horrible brain damage, and his detoxification system was so damaged that the doctor said he would never recover and essentially be a bubble boy for the rest of his life. He went from all the things I just described about him to not being able to lift his head off the pillow, walk a straight line, spell a 3-letter word, add 2 + 2, a complete, reversal. And again, Marilee and her husband just refused to accept that was the end. That was the only option. And before the internet, became a mom on a mission, just searching for information however she could, and tried to create the safest environment for him. Doctors even said, like, basically you need to create a safe room. His body can't detoxify anything, so essentially take everything out of his room, but like a mattress. So they tried that, but he actually couldn't even really be in the home. And so she got rid of most stuff, but she kept one box of like all their favorite stuff, like her favorite nice perfumes and nail polishes and things that she just, wasn't really wanting to get rid of yet and didn't think would be a problem if they're in a box in the closet. Well, her son still couldn't come inside and his lymph nodes would swell up. He'd get really agitated. And so they homeschooled outside and slept outside on cots in the open air. And it hit her one night that when you're at the grocery store, you smell those cleaning products. And if you're on the cleaning products aisle, you know you're on that aisle because you can smell it. And those bottles are sealed and closed. And so it hit her about the stuff that she was keeping in this box, these fragrances and different things. And she was like, I'm not going to tell my husband or my son anything, but I'm going to take the box out and see what happens. Well, the next day, her son's like in the house eating lunch, and they would try and see if he could get back in. And he's like, Mom, what'd you do? I'm not feeling like I need to get outside. And that was a turning point for his health. And it was like a true turning point. I mean, just like aha moment for Marilee of, wow, like these chemicals in parts per million, parts per billion levels affect us and are putting a burden on our system to some degree. And so anyway, he ended up becoming a fully recovered, brilliant, strong, man that graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy, is married with 3 children, and has a very full, vibrant life. So it's amazing. And she started consulting other people just by word of mouth, and has, so many success stories over and over just from this concept of removing these harmful chemicals from our daily lives, from our products and our food that we put in, on, and around ourselves every day. So Allison, I'll let her tell her story about how Marilee helped her, and then I'll wrap it up to mine. But yeah, it all goes back to the health transformations in all 3 of our lives.
Yeah. No, thanks, Kelly. That was perfect. So of course I'm Marilee's niece. So I grew up, Douglas is my first cousin, and maybe several, I guess 6 or 7 years older than me. So I grew up hearing this story about what was going on with my family and thinking, gosh, Marilee's kind of this amazing hippie that lives out in the hill country and shopping at Whole Foods. This was like when Whole Foods first opened on the Drag in Austin. And hearing about how sick he was and how he was getting better, and they were, sleeping outside, and all these things. And I'm just like, grew up in a very conventional minded household. So it wasn't until, well, let's see. So I had my first menstrual cycle when I was 13 years old, and then never had one again. Went to a specialist in Houston, Texas, where I am from. And this fertility doctor took a quick sonogram and said, this is the worst case of polycystic ovarian I've ever seen in my practice. You have thousands of cysts in your ovaries. There's nothing that you can do about it. Because I remember asking, is there some sort of lifestyle, shift I can make? Nope. This is in 2003. So we've learned a lot since then, but not enough. And put me on birth control and basically said, you will not be able to conceive naturally, but why don't you come back when you're ready to conceive, stay on birth control until then, and we will be able to help you do that. So I kind of owned it. Like, I identify with someone that could not have babies on my own and was the worst case of PCOS anyone has ever seen. And it must just be from genetics. Like, there's nothing I can do. So fast forward, I go to college, and I come down with this mysterious pain the beginning of my sophomore year that started off as just like tightness in my neck and my shoulders. By Thanksgiving, it's terrible low back pain. I'm having essentially pain that's radiating down my arms and my legs. I'm losing feeling in my hands and my toes. And by the end of the year, I'm picking up, I'm back in the days when I drank conventional milk, a milk carton falling to the floor. So it was very scary. Like, what's happened? I mean, in my mind, I was healthy, didn't even think about, the PCOS thing even being related or having a strike against me. I was just,
and our version of healthy, we thought we were healthy because we were eating like 100 calorie packs,
Totally. Splenda, my coffee, yep. I looked great. And I started seeing specialists, and essentially was a student with disabilities because I couldn't sit through class. I was traveling all the time, seeing doctors, rheumatoid arthritis specialists. I was on steroid injections, muscle relaxers, sleeping pills, antidepressants. I mean, the whole 9 yards. And here I am now, a junior at University of Texas. And I finally saw a guy in Houston, who looked at me, and I'll never forget this. And he was like, I can't put all these things together. Nothing really makes sense, but this most resembles MS. And that was really the last professional I had spoken with. And then Marilee comes along, and, my mom, I kind of begrudgingly had a conversation with her because I'm thinking, I've been to the best people in the nation. Like, how is my aunt out in the hill country who eats, organic foods and doesn't have a cell phone and blah, blah, blah. Like, how is this going to help me? Like, what's going on?
What does she really know? Come on.
What is she? Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
And Marilee is the most patient person, so she was not going to press on Allison or push Allison until Allison was ready.
Yeah, I was ready. And I kind of hit rock bottom. I was like, well, there's nothing I have to lose here. So I got on the phone with her, and I was immediately intrigued by her questions. It was essentially, what is your 3-day diet diary? What have you eaten today? Have you recently moved or remodeled? Do you have an exterminator using pesticides in your home? What are you cleaning with? And I'm trying to have her understand the pain that I'm in, what my EKGs say, my blood work, what this last doctor said. I want her to know my symptoms. And she's so lovingly listening, but I could tell it is not going to change anything about how she's going to treat me and the process that we need to go through. And I was so like thrown off by it. But there was a part of me that was like, wait a minute, this is the first time that someone has asked me questions that I actually have control over. Like, this is kind of interesting. Like, so I really didn't believe it for a second. I didn't believe that the things she was talking about, because in my mind, I'm thinking, I've been eating the same things my entire life. Everyone else around me eats these things. But she's explaining to me about how we each have our particular, capacity for these toxins. Everything that we put in, on, and around our body, it's like drops in the bucket. And some people don't spill over until they wake up, when they're older and there's a neurodegenerative disease or there's a cancer diagnosis, or some people have chronic eczema, allergies, asthma, migraine, whatever it is, their whole lives. And some people have these kind of break moments, and it shows up where, autoimmune markers will show up. Like for me, it was rheumatoid arthritis. Like that was a marker that showed up in college that then went away. So it was interesting because it was a new way of looking at how, our bodies have this propensity to heal, and we naturally run in the direction of healing. And the things that we put in, on, and around us every single day keep us from experiencing, that power, that innate power that we have. So something clicked.
The beauty is that, like you said, we have control to make choices that where they can contribute to us thriving or contribute to, the sickness.
Exactly. Yeah. And she always uses the analogy of a scab. It's like when you cut yourself, you wake up every morning and you pick at the scab, it's never going to heal your entire life. But if you just leave it alone for a few days, you're going to look down and you're not even going to remember where it was, So I was all in at the capacity that I could be, given I was, living in a sorority house on campus with 5 other girls who use hairspray and, all the things. But it was amazing how even just the small shifts of switching my cleaning products and getting rid of candles and trying to incorporate more whole foods, it made such a difference. I was able to wean off of, I was on the highest dose of hydrocodone that I could be prescribed at that age. So upon graduation, I had seen a huge shift in my health. Kelly is my roommate at the time, and she, there's some people that just have that like natural fascination with it. And she had that, and she was so intrigued by it. I mean, I know obviously she loves me as my best friend. She was very happy for me, but I think something in her clicked too. Like, there's something to this. This is really different. We're not learning about this, And so we decided to go off to the hill country in Texas, a few hours east of Austin, and go live with Marilee. And that was the summer. That was 2008, and it changed everything for us. We arrived that day, walk into her home, and it's hard to describe the smell of her home. It's just the smell of nothing, just nothing. It's just clean. Like, it's like the outside, but you don't smell that often these days. I mean, especially people who are unmasked, like we call it, people that, like me, like I'm not using these fragrant products. So I can walk into a home. I walked into a home last night. I can tell you what dryer sheets they're using. I'm like a dog. But it's interesting. Yeah. Her home was free of all these synthetic fragrances and pesticides and chemicals. And we were drinking juice back when juice was just orange juice and grapefruit juice. And we were drinking beets and carrots and kale. And, we were grounding. We didn't have our cell phones. And We were chopping. We learned to chop onions. Like, we had never done these things before. We were eating real whole foods. And within a few weeks, I noticed symptoms were just lessening and lessening. And by the end of the 8 weeks, I was off all my medication.
Wow.
And we couldn't look back. And during this time, during the summer, while we're eating whole foods and we're breathing fresh air, we're, connecting with nature, connecting with each other, and even just on a spiritual level, we're Christians. And it was just amazing. Just everything that we were doing. It was like we were filling ourselves with so much purity. And I could literally feel my body healing just day by day. And it didn't require these expensive therapies yes, hyperbarics are amazing. These infrared saunas are wonderful, and we can save up for, different treatments and, IV drips and stuff. But a lot of times we just need to get out of our own way and go back to basics. And that's when the healing can really begin. And this entire time, this whole summer, we're listening to her consult with clients, and it's clients that are calling about their child's behavioral disorder, their husband's asthma, their chronic migraines, or, and it's the same questions that she had asked me. It didn't matter what the symptoms were. And it was fascinating. So the end of the summer, I'm, Kelly and I are on fire. We're like, we got to get Marilee's brain on the internet. People have to understand how simple and transformative this is. And so several months later, I'm now engaged. My husband says, hey, let's go back to that original doctor you went to in high school. Of course, I'm totally off birth control. Marilee was like, you ain't working with me when you're on synthetic estrogens. And so I went back to the original doctor, and he had been too busy to fit me in that day. But I saw the nurse practitioner, took a quick sonogram, and the doctor comes running in with the results. And he's literally holding the one from high school and the one, this is now 6 years later. And he said, what did you do? I've never seen this happen. So I had like 1 cyst on my left ovary and 2 on my right. I had no symptoms of PCOS, my insulin. Everything had normalized.
And she wasn't even targeting that.
Yeah, that wasn't even,
Allison,
like I had gone for pain. I'd gone to Marilee because I was in this acute situation, and by the PCOS, none of that was even a focus that summer. And I continued to do the best that I could, living back in the real world for several months. I was eating whole foods, and I was definitely watching, the oils and using good products, but I'm still exposed. Kelly and I were living in a house with, really bad building materials, and we were exposed to people at work. You were still living life. But anyway, the doctor couldn't believe it and wanted me to come talk to PCOS support groups. And I explained to him, look, I got off birth control and I ditched all the toxins, and this is what happened. And I remember asking him, is there something else that you would say I should do or implement in order to actually have my period? Because at this time, I'm not having my cycle. So I'd only had 1 natural cycle, and that was when I was 13. And I remember him saying, I think you just need to keep doing what you're doing. I think he was he was kind of like, I have no advice here.
Yeah.
And he's great. We still keep in touch, his nurse practitioner and myself. But let's say a year later, I'm still living this lifestyle and eating as clean as I can. I wake up one morning and I have my first natural period, and I'm 24, 25. And a few years later, I'm having my cycle is perfect, and I think for people listening, you may or may not realize this, but as women, our reproductive organs are not there for us. They're there for the next generation. And a lot of times when we are stressed, they are the first things to go. They're the first things to shut down. And they're oftentimes, as we are on our healing journey, one of the last things to kick back in again. And so I have no judgment at all against anyone who chooses to do fertility treatments. For my husband and me, it was so clear to us, and we felt so strongly that my body was on the right track. And it was just a matter of time before I would have my period. And then I did, and my cycle wasn't normal, but I knew it would be. And I just kept going and waiting. And at 25 years old, I was having pretty perfect cycles. And we've tried 3 times. We've conceived 3 children and carried full term. So that's just my story. I know so many people have different stories, but for me, I can never look back. Like, I have felt the extreme benefits of removing toxins from the things we put in, on, and around us. And all we want to do at Branch Basics is to empower people and encourage people with simple information, simple steps. Like Kelly said, just removing these these daily offenders and experiencing what we call the power of pure.
Yeah, so okay, so amazing. There's just so many things that you said. One of the things too, Kelly, that I just want to start off with, you mentioned, and I love this, is just start with one thing. Go, just remove one thing, see what happens. And so many times, especially I can empathize with clients and even my own health and my own health journey, and all of us, I think, can say it's so overwhelming and you're just like, don't know where to start. But it's like, what if you just started with one thing? And if it was just the cleaning equipment, or if it was just that, would that make a difference? And it's like, yes, it can. And that can be the start of it. So it doesn't have to be so overcomplicated. And so I really love that. And then the second thing is I want to highlight is Dr. Shauna Swan has this amazing book called Countdown. And in
Yes.
the book, she talks about, we are in an epidemic. We just went through this pandemic over 3 years, but we're in that was nothing compared to what people, if they only knew the real epidemic we're in,
Yes.
which is testosterone is at an all-time low for males. Sperm count is like dropped by like 52% compared to like the 1970s. And I'm seeing it with men clients that come to me all the time. I'm 30 years old. I have low T. That's should not be happening.
Mm-mm.
And women at an all-time high of IVF therapy because they can't get pregnant. And if you read her book, you know what she says? It all has to do with these synthetics, parabens, and plastics. And if you remove that, you would limit yourself and you could rebalance your hormones. And it sounds like that's what both of you did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. So I'm like, I was the healthy one. So my part of the story is that I show up to Marilee's and I'm the healthy one and just there kind of to learn. But for me, I was blown away by all of a sudden all these like, quote unquote normal symptoms that we all have went away. But really, I realized they're not normal. They're just common because I no longer had painful menstrual cramps like I historically had. And then all of a sudden, I'm now having my cycle and having no symptoms, no like cramps or anything. No dry, itchy eyes, headaches, muscle aches, joint pain, and body odor even. I mean, I was like, I don't even need deodorant. Just like all these things that I wasn't even trying to target and happened. And, I showed up to Marilee's with really fragrant laundry detergent and I couldn't smell it because I had used it my whole life. And so we put them in the sun, we put my clothes in the sun and we outgassed everything and all that. And it, like we said, until I became kind of unmasked or until people kind of give our bodies we give our bodies a chance to be free of this stuff, we don't really realize how much it's impacting us. So yeah, sorry, you asked one question, maybe thinking you were going to get a quick answer, but as you can see, we're really passionate about just like the health side of it. And that is really, truly why we exist and what we're all about. Our product is a vehicle so we can like tell people about all the things that you talk about as well.
And the great thing, Allison, you mentioned is it's the interference. We tend to get in our own way of life all the time, whether it's our mindset or in this case, our health. And so it's not adding more things in a lot of times. And with PCOS, I would have even thought, man, maybe heavy metals, you need to do like a detox. Maybe there's some, some candida, some gut stuff. No, you didn't even do that. You just gave the body the right input. And when the body has the right input, it has this innate ability to heal. It wants to heal, like you said. I think that is just so wonderful. You didn't do anything different. You removed toxins that were creating a deficiency in your body, and your body healed on its own over time. I mean, that's just amazing.
No,
And I think a lot
I
of women
love that. And I think too, we forget the power of food, of real food, right? So not only am I removing toxins, I am for the first time in my life eating actual whole food in their whole food form. Take cilantro. I didn't really eat cilantro growing up. So I'm now adding that in, whether it's chopped in some salad or I'm eating it alongside fish. But like cilantro has natural heavy metal chelating properties that are actually pulling heavy metals from deep into my cells, my organs that I've stored up for years. And I'm eliminating through my urine. I didn't even know that. And so many times, we get caught up in learning so much and trying to eat the perfect diet. If we'll just eat whole foods, like God knew what he was doing. There's so many medicinal properties in just that. I mean, the ideal, I guess, Joel, I think you would agree with me, like in your practice, I mean, ideally we would be eating such pure, clean foods that we wouldn't need supplements. But nowadays, our food is so adulterated and we would have to eat so many more carrots than we would have to eat back then. But even just this idea, if you are someone listening, if you are someone that eats out of a package a lot or is just eating kind of empty carbs, even just that shift of adding a few whole foods to your diet can be extremely medicinal.
Yeah. And I will say, and I've made a big shift just over the last 2 to 3 years. I used to think, organic or not organic, like, uh, I don't know. Some of it is marketing, but I mean, after reading Dr. Stephanie Seneff's book, Toxic Legacy, and learning more about glyphosate, I had her on my podcast. I mean, we are glyphosate. It's that was something else that I kind of like downplayed. It is terrible. I mean, what it does,
Yeah.
and you can't avoid it.
No.
It's everywhere. And so, I mean, and if you go to I always tell people, if you go to the EPA's website right now, the Environmental Protection Agency's website, you will learn, and they tell you right on the website, you are being bombarded by 86,000 man-made chemicals every year, and the numbers are just going up. So how we've got to somehow detox, we've got to use food as, if you can at least get good, clean food, like you said, that is going to be a huge, powerful step to your healing journey.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you guys do this, you guys have this aha moment, like, we healed naturally. Then something happened. We're like, we should create a product. Or tell me about that. How did Branch Basics come to birth?
Yeah, so we actually started off private labeling a product that Marilee had used with her son and other chemically sensitive clients that, were in a position where they couldn't use anything without reacting. And this was the one product that worked well for them that they didn't react to. And so we had an opportunity to make make our own brand around that product. And so we were three women that were just really passionate about health, had no business experience, and we were like, let's do this. So we started really small and got our boyfriends at the time, now husbands, to help us like fill up our first bottles. And we just did a really small run. We printed the labels like at a local printing place, and we got started. And just slowly over time, we grew, and to the point, where we were shipping everything out ourselves and wearing all the hats to run the business. And I remember getting to a point where we're like, okay, I think we're at a point now where we're like, it's going to be a lot of money, but like we need to pay someone else to do the bottling and filling so that we can try and grow the company. And anyway, it's just been like that. And we've slowly built it. And then we actually had to shut down for a few years because we realized there were some issues, not full transparency with the formula provider for that first product that we put out. And not that it wasn't safe, but we weren't privy to the full ingredient list. And it just became clear, like, we can't tell people to look on the back of labels and know what's in the bottle before bringing it to your home or putting it on your body or in your body. And we can't even tell them the full ingredients in this product. So it was actually a huge blessing because it pushed us to work with chemists and create a formula that we could have full control over and offer full transparency for. So yeah, that was in 2017, and we relaunched with our current formula, which is even better than the first. So it was a huge blessing.
Very cool. And for people that don't know Branch Basics, like, kind of tell them what's unique about you guys. Like, obviously we know it's clean ingredients, but like, what else? What makes you guys unique, and why do you think you have such a loyal following of people that continue to order from you and subscribe to what you guys are doing?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, even just the model of cleaning is different. So if you're not familiar, we sell a 32-ounce concentrate, liquid concentrate, and that Joel is currently using as his water bottle because it's so safe. No, I'm just kidding. You could. But so you purchase the concentrate, and the starter kit comes along with several empty bottles. So you can either get glass or plastic. And you have an all-purpose, a window and glass, a bathroom bottle, hand soap, and laundry bottle. Am I missing any? Nope, I don't think I am. And so each of those bottles on the label has specific dilution lines. So the ratio of water to concentrate changes depending on which bottle you're using, but essentially you're replacing every single cleaning product in your home with the concentrate. And then we now have dish tabs. We have Oxygen Boost, which is an amazing duo with the concentrate. It's essentially sodium bicarbonate, percarbonate, and you can use it to add to laundry to boost your whites and to brighten your colors for cleaning pots and pans, tile, grout. There is not a stain that this dynamic duo can't get out. except, sometimes I think the movie popcorn has been tough. But other than that, it's amazing. And I think what makes us different is that we're not just another non-toxic cleaning product. Our standards are so incredibly high. Number one, we will never add any sort of fragrance to our product. So not only are we free of synthetic fragrances, but we actually don't even have essential oils, because a lot of times people in their healing phase are triggered by that, by those oils, even if they're really high quality. And unfortunately, a lot of recent studies have shown essential oils, even organic, wildcrafted, are actually having an endocrine disruption property as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the preservative is also something that really helps us to stand apart from everything else on the non-toxic cleaning aisle. So ingredients like potassium sorbate and sodium benzoate, methyl isothiazolone, like these are ingredients that you're going to find in non-toxic cleaning products that you will never find in ours. And so this is probably why it took a year and a half for us to come out with our formula and dozens of iterations, because not only did we need it to meet the ingredient standards, we needed it to work. I mean, that's a really close second, because you can get people to buy once, but they're never going to buy again if it doesn't work. And so we needed to really be competitive with not just the non-toxic cleaning product industry, which does not have a great reputation for actually being effective at cleaning. We wanted to compete with the effectiveness of even the conventional cleaning products. So that's kind of the product lineup.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of times, and I've had that happen in the past, where I'm all right. I found this organic, like clean product, but it just doesn't work as well, and I'm like, bummer. Like, so, and
that's
then
what's so fun about it. We get so many testimonials of people like, just, I don't even care about the health part. Like, this is amazing. It's the best cleaner I've used. And so it's so fun, because we know that we're actually like promoting something for people that they don't have to sacrifice efficacy just for the safety and health component,
Yeah, it's huge. And then really quick, just in terms of ingredients, and maybe put people at ease, because, I know you guys are clean, but like anytime I look at words that I can't pronounce, or like, and you even like said sodium benzoate, and I'm like, oh, that's probably something I should watch out for, if there's like a ton of ingredients. But like, just to give an example, and I have the one I have right now I'm holding up is the concentrate. This is the multi-purpose cleaner. It has like decyl glucoside, right? I can't even pronounce that, right? And sodium bicarbonate and sodium phytate. Like, if someone's just like randomly looking at this, how would they know, oh, well, that benzoate is actually safer, or decyl glucoside, like I can't even pronounce that. I don't know what it is. How,
right.
And I guess we don't need to know necessarily what it is in the sense, but I'm sure there's obviously rigorous testing and clinical like trials that show, oh no, there's no reaction to this. But I guess how should someone else like read the labels and go, oh, I can understand this. It is safe.
Joel, that is a great question, and something we talk about all the time, because it's like, people, there's so much confusion out there, and it's impossible for, people to know what all these ingredients are. And so really the shortest and best answer that we give to people is like not trying to figure out what all these ingredients are, but learning like the red flags to look for. So
that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, anywhere you see that single word fragrance, it might sound so simple and you know how to pronounce it and you understand what that is, but that single word alone can hide thousands of chemicals that don't have to be disclosed. So right away, like, oh, red flag, I don't want that.
That's, by the way, Kelly, that's like seeing natural flavors. I just saw something like, and I understand like sometimes you have to put that in. And I know Dave Asprey's talked about this with his creation of some of his products. He's like, well, I'm actually required to put that in, but guys, I swear it's safe. And, you try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I just saw something about natural flavors. Like that could mean that a natural flavor could have up to 70 different chemicals in it off of just like one natural flavor. So you just don't know, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a great example. So we tell people also just to start at the bottom, because typically that's where the preservatives like Allison was listing are. And EWG, it's not like a perfect rating system, but that is a really helpful tool to, put a product in or put an ingredient in, and it can give you a rating. But yeah, like decyl glucoside, cocoa glucoside. Those are surfactants made from coconut and corn, and they're safer. But yeah, like the average person's not going to know that,
Well, and what
and
kind of corn? Like we are going to
yeah,
obviously go to
right,
links to make sure that our corn is sourced non-GMO and pure, but like
right.
corn is in everything these days, and a lot of people
Yeah.
have an allergy to it because it's in so many more things than we realize, and it's such an adulterated crop. And so it's hard. It's not, we don't, there's not an easy answer, but I think what Kelly said is perfect. It's like what to
And
look for, because there's so many things by the time you go through that list of the warnings and caution and danger and the fragrances, you're getting rid of most products in your home. And then
right.
then you're only left with a small amount, and you can easily plug those ingredients in and look. And it's a finite process. Marilee always says it's not like you're waking up every day and you're like, oh my gosh, what products am I going to use? Like once you decide what oil you like to put on your face and what you like to, clean your window with or do your dishes with, like it's finite. You got it. I never think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The paradox of choice has been eliminated now.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's one of the things too about our product. The beautiful thing about the concentrate is when you are on this journey of trying to reduce toxins, you don't have to go find a new window cleaner, a new bathroom cleaner, a new dish cleaner, body wash, because it replaces so much. So it just takes off like a huge mental load too, and saves time, money, and space. So that's something that's really valuable, I think, when you're on this journey and feeling like you have to do a whole overhaul.
Yeah. And the last thing I would even add to what you guys are saying is you guys are the best, or at least Allison, you're the best canary in the coal mine, in the sense that if
Yeah.
it, if you were having reactions, then this product would not be on the market. And I mean, I'm sure other people feel the same way. It's you remove that toxic burden. You're like, man, I feel better. My energy's better. My mood's better. My hormones are better. So that's
Yes.
also a great way to know, is this working or not? Have we
Exactly.
moved the needle or
Yeah.
not?
Well, and
Uh,
so many people, I mean, our products will always be fragrance free, because fragrance free is the quickest, fastest recovery healing, that Marilyn has seen. And now that I've been fragrance free for 15 years or something, almost, like, I mean, anytime I'm around it, my body automatically, gives me the signals. And so many people that switch to Branch Basics for laundry and cleaning and all that stuff, they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize before that, like, this affected me. And now I go on the grocery store aisle and I'm around the laundry products that I used to use every day, and I can't even be around them without like a headache and my eyes start burning and I start coughing. So it's wild.
I agree. I mean, once you start to go down this rabbit hole, I don't go to the mall anymore, really, but I can think
Yeah.
of times where like you walk through that perfume aisle, like at Macy's or whatever, and I'm like, oh my God, like how do people do this all day? Like I'm getting a headache just walking by. So yeah, I, I'm curious. We kind of dived into chemicals, and we talked about the parabens and the plastic. Is there anything else that is just like a surprising maybe piece of knowledge that you think other people don't know that we haven't already covered?
One thing that comes to mind for me, I was blown away by hearing this. When I heard this, a lot of times we think, okay, it's just one ingredient, or it's just like a little bit in this product here and there. Well, one, like, that accumulates. But what blew me away was that these chemicals are studied in the equivalent of one drop in the size of in an Olympic sized swimming pool, and show hormone disruption and like effects on our cells. So really, like, the dose makes the poison is not the way to live anymore, is not accurate. And so I think it's easy to think, oh, okay, it's just like I really need to throw out, or you're telling me I should stop using this product, like, because of this one word fragrance or whatever. But even if it's in there just a little bit, like, it matters. It makes a difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love that. I wanted to ask you too. Any exciting projects or anything new that you guys are working on?
Well, we just launched our Toss the Toxins course, which is amazing. It's essentially all of our blogs, articles, newsletters, every piece of advice that Marilee has given, the process that she has used with thousands of clients for the past few decades, put into a course. And it's the three of us, Marilee and Kelly and myself, and we're essentially walking people through step by step how to identify, remove, and replace the products that you put in on and around your body. So we start with, pesticides, the worst offenders. We move to synthetic fragrances. We hit your laundry room. We talk about plastics, and we go all the way from those tangible items, of course, pantry and refrigerator, to all the way to toxic thoughts and just how that can affect
Love that.
Your health, and how our body uptakes and detoxifies even on the cellular level is affected by our thought patterns. So it's an amazing course. We've poured so much of our time and resources and passion into it, and just launched it a couple months ago. And a unique thing about the course is that we actually allow people who sign up to have direct access to us three founders through Slack. So we have, every other week we'll hop on and do a Zoom call, and then people can just Slack us directly and we'll be able to get back to them. And most of the questions are health related. We have a few product questions in there, but that's something really exciting that just shows and kind of really underscores this idea that we really are more of a lifestyle and education company and brand than we are a product company. Although we do have some fun products.
Yes, we are also working on some new products that we're hoping to launch later this year, and then another one hopefully early next year.
I love the idea of not only the course, but building the community. That is so powerful.
Yes.
And then to have access to the three of you is just, it makes it feel even a deeper connection with the brand. So that's great. I love that. I wanted to kind of wrap things up and ask, I have these final round questions I like to ask all my guests. But before I do, is there just anything else I didn't ask you that you wish I had?
Gosh, no,
I think I always like to say this at the end of podcasts for anyone listening. The last thing we want is for people to feel overwhelmed, for people to feel shame, for people to feel, oh my gosh, like everything around me is toxic. Where do I start? That is not the takeaway here. And that's the toxic thought that I was talking about. So let it go. Don't even think about it, because really this is an opportunity. Ignorance is not bliss. So it's good for us to be aware, but at the same time, we can't obsess about the things that we can't control. And so when we leave our house, we are going to be exposed. We're going to be exposed to everything from toxic perfumes to toxic people and the malls and all the things, and our kid will have to face going to birthday parties with our kids and how we're going to navigate that. And so let's leave that aside for a minute and just think about all the things that we do have control over. I mean, gosh, I don't know why this just popped in my head, but I'm thinking, toilet paper has a lot of BPA in it. Once I realized that, I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to get on a subscription with Amazon and I get some BPA free toilet paper every month. That's one less exposure. Start with what you are most comfortable with, what excites you the most to replace. We have a ton of resources on our website that talk, that give a lot of replacement products, everything from personal care, men's, women's, children's as well, snacks, things like that. And so, just start with where you feel you can, and not, getting overwhelmed, and just know, like Joel had said, every single change that you make is one less, exposure, and takes more and more burden off of your body. And that energy is then freed up to maintain health, if that's your position, or to start healing on a deeper level. So every single choice really does matter. Even if you're not feeling it, your body is feeling it on a cellular level.
Yeah, so good. Speaking of that, one of the questions I love to ask guests is, for both of you, what are some choices that you think you made, or maybe a choice that you think you made that made you who you are today?
Beyond my non-toxic toilet paper, or
maybe it was that. Maybe it was just the simple choice to go non-toxic toilet paper, and that was the key. That could be it. I mean, I'm happy with that.
I can go. I think the choice to start thinking outside the box and to question just what I grew up thinking was normal because everyone was doing it, just because it was common, like Kelly said, doesn't mean that it's normal. Doesn't mean we have to live with it. I heard this years ago and it stuck with me, but just the idea that genetics loads the gun and environment, lifestyle choices pull the trigger. And that is so empowering, like to know that just because you've been doing it your whole life, or everyone else around you is doing it, or it seems to work for other people, Usually it's not working for them. but you know what I mean? Just to question things and to be your own advocate. And to do that in the mindset of opportunity and excitement versus fear.
Love that. Yep.
Yeah. I totally agree with Al. And I guess the other thing that comes to mind is just the choice of like priorities. You know, a lot of times this can be more expensive to buy organic or more effort to pack snacks on our road trip instead of stopping to pick up food on the way. But it's worth it to me. And that's a choice that I've made that, you know, I instead of, you know, spending money on other things that maybe other people do, like I'd rather spend my money on, you know, healthier food and drinks and all the things. So just that choice of how I prioritize, how I look at it as, you know, a priority for me.
Yeah,
and
those
the
are both
family.
so good. Well, I love that.
Yeah.
You guys are obviously doing so much in the health and wellness world. I'm curious, who inspires you?
Marilee, for sure.
Marilee. Yeah. I still haven't found someone outside
The founder
of
of BPA toxic free toilet
Yes.
paper. Yeah.
Yeah, she does. I mean, she's even right now going through, she had fallen and is working through a little bit of a brain trauma herself. And just the way that she handles it, the mindset of just an overcomer mindset. I was really just thinking about that this morning. She's 71 years old, almost 72. And nothing will get her down. It's, you know,
Yeah.
she's like, yeah, I'm dealing with this and she sees it as an opportunity to learn.
Yeah,
That's how she framed it.
She's like, this is just such an amazing opportunity to learn more about the brain, and we're going to help more people, and it's just awesome.
That's so good. I'm a big reader. Are there any books that just had a huge impact on your life? And maybe there's more than one. You're free to name them all, or if you don't read at all, then don't name any, or maybe it's a comic book. But yeah, are there any books that impacted you in any way?
Yeah. I actually read a lot, but I do not read much when it comes. The books that I read are mainly parenting and faith based.
Please.
I feel like that's
Allison,
kind of my break.
Yeah, I mean, please share, because my bookshelf is filled with things like Listen by Tasha Shore and Dr. Daniel,
Yeah.
not Amen, but
Yeah.
I can't whole brain child. I mean, I'm
Yes,
constantly
Whole Brain
trying.
Child.
Yeah, thank you. I'm
It's a
always
good
trying.
one.
So parents, listen to this, and this is important. I mean, these books are
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. No, that actually was transformative for me. The Whole Brain Child, Dr. Daniel Siegel.
There you go.
And a lot of his books have been really impactful for me. I mean, How to Talk So Kids Will Listen, I think, is a basic one. And just, I think the way that we verbalize and we frame things for our kids, our words matter so much. Even for people on their healing journeys. I mean, it's the same with kids as it is with adults, and how we communicate with other adults and work through, you know, just issues. I think a lot of the things that I read in these parenting books, I'm like, oh, this could actually save my marriage too. No, my marriage is just fine, but it'll help.
Allison, can I tell you, I've got to interrupt you. So the funny thing is, I've hired parenting coaches, and I've actually, I work with a dad coach right now, and I read all these kind of books too. And it's funny that you say that, because I actually walked away from a workshop or something. It was a workshop actually with, her name. She's got a huge following on Instagram, Simply on Purpose, and I can't remember her name, Frankie, I think, she's great. And I remember walking away, and I'm like, if I just did these things actually in my own life with like my marriage, and talk to people that way in my work, everything would be better. It's just, it's a joke to say like, you should talk to your 5-year-old this way. Like, no, you should talk to everybody this way, and it would actually be impactful. So I love that you said that.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yes.
And
Wait, and Al, which one did you just finish that you were reading? Because I've been meaning to ask you what it was. You said like, I want to buy this for everyone and send it to everyone. About like,
yeah, I just finished this on the plane the other day. When I met Kelly, where were we going? Minneapolis. The Happy Dinner Table, or Happy. Oh, I need to go look it up. But it's amazing. And I thought, how can I read this entire book about food? I don't know this. I can't learn that much. I already feed my kids beautifully, but it's not just about the food. It's about how to frame it with kids and how to make sure that there's not this food battle. And I have 3 girls. The last thing I want is to be doing things like, and I've really had to think through this whole 1 bite rule that I thought was so healthy. I'm like, oh, that's actually not healthy, and we make such a big deal out of healthy foods to the point that if there is that rebellion, which will likely come at some stage, like I don't want to just frame the healthy foods as the ones that you have to get through to get to the desserts, and to get to the sugar food. So it's like, how can we strike that balance of helping our kids listen to their bodies, even though they're toddlers and they're young, and often they can't hear and understand what their body is saying. So you can go to that extreme, all the way to the other extreme of, oh, you have to eat this before you eat that, or you have to, and so striking that balance in this book, does a beautiful, beautiful job of it. Other countries like the French, they don't have the snacking issues. I think if I could sum it up, I have now been like, okay, guys, we're just not going to have these snacks because you're going to start trying more foods without the begging and the pleading if you're just hungry enough. And we snack too much in this country.
Agreed. Totally agree.
Yeah.
That was great. Anything for you, Kelly, that sticks out?
Yes. No, I'm more of a podcast listener than a reader. So I think my reading is more just like my quiet time in the mornings with my Bible.
That's great.
Which is honestly, the best thing for my mental health for sure.
That's beautiful. Last two questions. We'll wrap it up. Any rituals or hacks or just practices that you both do on a regular basis?
Oh, I will say that I am very strongly opinionated about grounding and getting sunlight in my eyes in the morning, which are two free things that anyone can do. Oh, I realize like not everyone may have access to like grass if you're in a big city, high rise, whatever. But like, yes, ground, it doesn't have to be grass too. You could still get some benefits from the road or from standing on concrete, but standing barefoot on the earth, connecting to the earth and looking up at this. I notice a difference, at least when I like actually look up at the sky in the mornings when I wake up, getting that natural light in my, is so beneficial for me and like my nervous system and everything. So
I agree. And it's so underrated and it's free. I agree.
Yes.
Exactly. Mine aren't free, but they're simple. Dry brushing is something that I'm pretty religious about. And I love myself a coffee enema. Joel,
You're
I know
the
you
first
appreciate
person to
that.
say that.
I know
love
she's
that.
going to talk about those dang coffee enemas. They've changed my life. I've been doing them for 15 years. I'm like, all you need is a bucket and some good mold-free
It's
coffee.
30 bucks. It's $30 on Amazon. So I'll put that in the show notes for sure.
Please do. It's really one of the most beneficial detoxifying healing practices. And I think it's just like, because of what it is, it's people just don't pay attention to it and they poo-poo it. No pun intended.
I agree. The interesting thing I'll say about that is most people don't learn about coffee enemas until they have cancer because they start researching all the things that you should do to
Gerson therapy and all. Yeah.
And I always try to share that with my clients early on. I'm like, why would you wait till you have cancer? Like, if it's so good for you to help with cancer, start doing it now. So that's a good one.
I tell people skin, they're like, oh, okay, I'll do it. I'm like, oh.
Last but not least, where can people find you, connect with you, learn more about you, buy some Branch Basics?
Branchbasics.com.
Yep. Branch Basics on Instagram as well. Everywhere is just Branch Basics.
We own Branch Basics. We got it. We cornered the market.
Yes. On Instagram, on all the social media, and on the .com. And then our course is tosstotoxins.com.
Okay.
Of course, there's links to it from the Branch Basics website as well. But
and feel free to DM us. We have an incredible team, and a lot of times Kelly and I are in the DMs ourselves, but if we're not in them ourselves, they get sent to us. So ask us anything. We get back to every single DM on our Instagram.
That is so cool. Awesome. Allison Evans, Kelly Love, Branch Basics. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Joel. This was so fun. Thanks for letting us share all of this. Appreciate it.